Greetings and welcome to another playthrough of the Commands and Colors Ancients game. Today we are looking into Magnesia 190 BC. Some say 189 BC actually, but let's go with this year. And actually this is as you can see, the last scenario on this booklet. This is the first expansion of the Commands and Colors Ancient system. Greek and Eastern kingdoms. So actually we have played all of the base game scenarios. It ended with Zama. We have, after this battle, we have played Magnesia, so this booklet is done. We have also played all the scenarios in the Spartan expansion. So we are actually, with this battle, we will ending 3 of the expansion boxes actually. Quite impressive, but we have still few to do, right? We have some civil war coming up. We have civil wars, because there were, of course, a few civil wars before the famous one between Pompey and Caesar, which we, of course, will look at later on. But we also have a lot of conflicts with the Gauls and other barbarians we're going to see. Then, of course, we have the Imperial Rome to do before we enter medieval times. Anyway, that's far ahead in the future. So we're going to check these out now. Magnesia 190 BC. So this battle features actually the 2 real superpowers in the Eastern Mediterranean, you could say, or Asia Minor. We have the Seleucids, which is a huge empire during these days and a real power factor, right? And then we have the new guy on the block, the Romans. So yes, a lot of things have happened here in the recent 10, 20 years, right? We have Antiochus the Great, which we saw previously in the Battle of Raphia. If you remember, he was fighting, I think it was Ptolemy IV, where historically Ptolemy won the battle. So that was a bit of a setback for Antiochus III here, but after that, well, he regained a lot of... he was set on a mission, right? He wanted to restore the big Seleucid Empire, and he was successful more or less in that. That's why he got the name the Great, right? Antiochus the Great. And he also got his revenge against the Ptolemaians, because later on he had a battle with, I think it was actually, Ptolemy IV was fighting in Raphia, and his son clashed with Antiochus the Great later on. I think it's actually mentioned here in the historical background. Here in Panion 199 BC. So 9 years before this battle, or 10 years if you believe it's in 89. Anyway, so yeah, it says here he reconquested Asia Minor, Armenia, Parthia, and Bactria. So he really formed or restored the Seleucid Empire. So it was a huge power factor here in the east. Now, if you remember, the Romans and the Macedonians recently had a war, and we looked at that in scenario with King Philip of Macedon fighting against the Romans in Kynoskephalae in 197 BC, and the Romans won. And that was a pivotal battle because the Macedonians really, they have been really anti-Roman before this, right? And the Seleucids actually had some deals and with the Macedonians before this. But now the Macedonians was really, aligned to Rome instead. After the peace of the, I think it was the Second Macedonian War. So there was, as it said also here in the historical background, a turmoil in in the northern Greeks world, if you could say like that. I mean, in Greece proper and also Asia Minor. And also the Ptolemies had control over a lot of cities in the coastline up pretty big way up, up north actually in Asia Minor. And Antiochus the Great, he was now, well, he of course saw that. I mean, the power of vacuum in Greece and Asia Minor, and he wanted to exploit that, right, and expand his kingdom or empire up to those areas as well, also into Greece proper. So, in Greece we had something called the Aetolian League, a league of city-states there, and they were really anti-Roman at this point of time. And they pretty much, tried to convince Antiochus to kind of be the new garant of the city-states in Greece, and wanted him to be or the Seleucids to be more, anti-Roman, and even maybe, well, the Aetolians pretty much wanted to wage war against Rome at this point of time. They had a general who approached Antiochus to, he pretty much said, please wage war against Rome, please do it. And Antiochus was actually taking that bait, or not bait, but that proposition, and went on to Greece. I think he took some 10,000 infantry and a lot of cavalry with him, and a big fleet, right? So he went there, and some of the city-states there asked Rome for help, right? Those who were not on the same side as the Seleucids or the Aetolian League. So Rome answered to that call. They had an army already there, a smaller one, and they started to march towards Antiochus, actually. Antiochus also at this point of time tried to, open up new diplomatic channels to Macedonia, but the Macedonians really thought, okay, if there will be a clash between Seleucids and Rome, they saw the true Roman power here, and they thought, okay, if there is a big war coming up, we believe the Romans will win, and if we side with Seleucids this time, the peace terms will be really, really harsh next time. And they already had these, war debts to Rome. So they actually declined all the approaches from Antiochus' side to form a new alliance, an anti-Roman alliance. Anyway, Antiochus had now, he had crossed his Rubicon, I believe, when he crossed the Hellespont to the European side of the Greek world. And I think before this battle, it was before this battle, but I don't really recall the year right now. But we had the Romans drawing in on Antiochus' army, and Antiochus, thinking that the Romans had a larger army that they actually had at that point, started to retreat. He was wary. So he retreated back to the famous battleground of Thermopylae, and then because he thought he will fight an uphill battle here, in numbers, so he wanted to take that. It wasn't an optimal, defensive ground there with the mountains and that narrow pass there. So he set up his army there. The Romans came there and waged battle. And in the beginning, it looked like the Seleucids were holding their ground, right? Their phalanxes were, they had prepared the ground for the battle. They had artillery there and defensive structures. I think they actually reused some of the defensive structures from the old Spartan times. So he was holding his ground there. But as in the older battle, the famous battle, the Romans started, well, in that time it was the Persians, of course, but this time the Romans went over the mountains there on the flank. The Seleucids had set up some fortifications there, but in one place the Romans actually broke through, and they came into the rear of the Seleucid army. So they broke up and retreated. So the Romans won that battle, and that made the Seleucids to back off from mainland Greece, actually. And that's important because they were back to Asia Minor, but Antiochus was still, of course, still going strong. And during these times, there were also some naval battles fought, because the Seleucids wanted to crush the Roman navy before they could form up a big navy together with the Roman allies of Pergamon and most of all Rhodes. And but the Romans were successful. There was a big naval battle there. The Romans won it, forced back the Seleucids. There were several naval battles, and there was one other famous one actually where Hannibal from Carthago, he was the leader of the Seleucid navy there. But he also, I think this was actually all in all 3 bigger naval battles, and the Seleucids lost them all. So they had no control over the sea there anymore. And speaking of Hannibal, just to mention, he actually went over to the Seleucid court at this time. I don't recall the year when he went over there, but it might have been 195 or something like that. So he was on the Seleucid side here because he was, of course, having a lot of hatred towards Rome still at this point of time. So he did what he could to help any Roman foes here. Anyway, what happens with Magnesia then? Well, Antiochus was back on Asia Minor, on the today's Turkish side, right? But he started an invasion of Pergamon. Of course, the Romans were rushing for help, so they went over there with this time a bigger army, and this time it was led by a guy named, it was a consul, Lucius Cornelius Scipio. And Scipio, we know that name right by now, and this is actually his brother, and he was very successful here eventually, so he was actually, he gained the name of Scipio Asiaticus. His brother was Africanus. Anyway, the Romans went over there. Seleucids had a big army at this point of time. I think they say it was about, actually it doesn't say here, but I think in the ancient texts it said that they have over 70,000 men, and the Romans would have something like 30,000. But there had been some adjustments of those numbers by modern, researchers. So I think they say that the Romans had somewhere between 30 and 50,000 men, and the Seleucids would have something like between 50 and 70,000. So a bit more even matched armies, though. Anyway, the Romans were drawing in towards the Seleucid army. Both sides were really eager to give battle at this point of time. So the Romans, they kind of, in steps, draw towards the Seleucid army, bringing a camp, then marching a bit further on, new camp, a bit closer every time, right? And at one point of time, they were really close to each other. The Romans had a camp in a good place where they have they had rivers on 3 sides, because they knew that the Seleucids had very strong cavalry force, so they wanted to protect their flanks and rear by some rivers, right? And one of the rivers are River Phrygios here. Anyway, so there was some, and all by the time they did this, closing in towards the Seleucid army, Antiochus sends some elite cavalry to harass them all the time and trying to provoke them to give battle on a place where it would have been favorable for the Seleucid cavalry. But the Romans did not come out to do the battle. They wanted, of course, to do it on their terms, right? But so in the end, they ended up in this place that I said is a kind of a horseshoe formed place where they build a camp. And now they were really close. I mean, they were so close that they could really approach. I mean, the main armies could approach each other for a main battle. And for many days, they did actually form up battle lines, but no one started the advance against the other. And the Seleucids had actually the time on their side. They could really sit and wait. The Romans had more problems with getting supplies and all that, A big army need a lot of supplies. So they had to do something. They really had to do the first move here. So what they did, they started to march forward once more. They were, of course, giving up that good position with having rivers on each flank, protecting them from cavalry, but they had to do something, right? They had to give battle now. They could not just sit here and watch the supply dry out. So they marched forward. They still had the river Phrygios on the left-hand side, but the other river, which I don't remember the name on right now, which is, does it say here? Anyway, there's another river going here, right? And that does more or less a 90-degree turn towards the right. So they were losing that protection when marching forward, basically. So here they moved up. Now Antiochus thought, okay, this is a good place still to give battle. So he formed up his army here, a really strong cavalry flank on that, let's say, weakened Roman side where they don't have the protection anymore. And the battle began. And the story about this battle goes that Eumenes here, he's actually Eumenes the second king of Pergamon. He was the one who started the battle, more or less. So he sent forward his lighter troops. And here we have a lot of, these troops from Pergamon here and other non-Roman troops, let's say that like that. So he sent forward that. He has light bows and light infantry here. They start harassing the cavalry flank here, and especially the side chariots which were placed up front. So they kind of came in a bit of a panic here with the side chariots. So they turned around, started to retreat, starting some these organizations here, and also they have some cavalry here. They were really disturbed by these retreats. Also, they had some cataphracts here. I believe that's the medium heavy cavalry here. They also, there was a mess in the Seleucid cavalry flank, more or less. So they started to retreat towards the camp, tried to reform to have a proper battle line again, but Eumenes took advantage of that mess that was over here. So he launched a cavalry charge here, which was very successful because the cataphracts and other didn't have the time to line up before they camped, before these cavalry hit. And that was a big problem because now this flank was more or less crushed, or at least it could not give the infantry line that support anymore. The infantry advanced at pretty much the same time. There was a big fighting going on here, with Antiochus also placed some elephants between the Macedonian style phalanxes here. I think it had 2 elephants between each. Well, I don't know, but it was something like what is called these Macedonian taxis or something like that. So between each taxi he had 2 elephants, I believe. Anyway, so there was a hard fighting in the center, really not decisive. And Antiochus at the same time, he launched his cavalry charge towards the Roman left flank here. And he was quite successful. He managed to disarray the Roman. He was a lot of Latin allies here, and there's also Macedonians here in the reserve, and also Thracians, I believe. So he managed to break the lines of the Romans. They started to retreat towards their camp, probably somewhere outside this battle map. And he was successful, but he couldn't really, take the camp of the Romans to spread the panic by that way. So he got a bit bogged down in fighting here eventually, because the Romans, they had some reserves back in the camp. I think actually they had the elephants here as well. And not what the elephants, these are African ones, and the Seleucids had the Asian ones. So that's, these guys are inferior to the Asian elephants. So they wanted to keep these back in the lines here. I think they were involved in that fighting against Antiochus' cavalry who break through here. But as I said, they got bogged down. The infantry was entangled with each other in a fight here. Also, we have some infantry fighting on this side. I think actually the Seleucids had the silver shields here. It must be these guys actually. I can't see what other heavy infantry we have here, because these guys are Galatians, or what, how it's pronounced. And so these guys were entangled here. The center was entangled with each other, and now the skirmishers and cavalry could start harassing. While these were fighting, they got a rain of missiles on them here. So they actually started to panic, or not panic, but they started to retreat actually, because they couldn't hunt down these light infantry here. So they were under constant harass from their side and rear probably. Also, I think the elephants started to panicking here. So that caused the big mess in their, not Macedonian, but Seleucid lines. So they came in a full retreat. So Antiochus eventually managed to disengage from his entangled battle here, or where he was bogged down. But when he came back, it was more or less too late. The Seleucids were in a full retreat here, and he couldn't really rally them. So the battle was over, and by that, the whole cause of Antiochus' plans of Asia Minor and Greece was over by this defeat, because he couldn't really come back anymore. I think one of the naval battles after this was after this battle actually, and that was another catastrophe for the Seleucids. So eventually there was a peace treaty, and Antiochus had to promise to give up his plans of Asia Minor. So he wasn't allowed to go west of the Taurus Mountains, which is in northern Turkey. And yeah, war debts and all that. And he was also actually forced to hand over some of the leaders on their side, notably Hannibal, of course, and also that Aetolian general that pretty much, talked Antiochus into hostile actions against the Romans. And one big after effect of this battle was also that both Pergamon and Rhodes, they got a lot of lands in Asia Minor, so both of them become pretty big kingdoms actually. So it was big times for Eumenes the second here, expanding his kingdom. Yeah, I think that's enough for the background. Also, I could say that in the I think it's Livy who says that the Seleucid lost some 50,000 men or something like that, and the Romans like few hundred. That's not agreed upon by many modern, historians. They thought there were maybe 10,000 here and 5,000 here or something like that. I have read that numbers, but it's really difficult to know, right? It doesn't say anywhere, but they think something like that. At least the Romans should have lost a bit more than a few hundred in this battle, because there was some heavy fighting both on their left flank and in the center section here. Anyway, let's have a quick look at the armies. And let's check the war council first. So we have the Seleucid, led by Antiochus the Great, the Great, and they will have 4 command cards. The Roman is Consul Lucius Cornelius Scipio, and he will have 5 command cards. And by now you probably know that they will get 1 more card in the solo system we are using here. So they have another card in slot A here. The Romans go first. We'll battle until 7 banners are achieved by any side. The river Phrygios is impossible, so we cannot go there. And then we have the optional rules with Roman tactical flexibility. I think we have seen this before in the Macedonian War. An unsupported Greek heavy infantry unit may only battle back against a Roman medium or heavy infantry unit with 3 battle dice, which reflects ability to more many. Okay, so, but the Greek heavy unit must be unsupported to get that only 3 battle dice. Otherwise, they always battle with 5 dice. So it's important for the Seleucids to keep these guys supported. Again, I will try to remember this rule. When in the heat of battle, I might forget it and just roll those 5 dice for the heavy infantry. So yeah, but if I remember it, I will for sure honor this rule. Okay, now let's check at the armies, and let's start with the Romans this time. So it's said that we have some Macedonians and Thracians also on the Roman side, and I think some of them were on this flank, but to the rear. But since we have some bow units here, I believe these are mostly Roman allies. We have some auxilia, so these are not Roman or not even maybe Italian or Latin allies, So I think from here we can see we have some proper troops from Italy. But we have some light infantry, a light bow, and then we have these auxilia back here. Then we have the main line of the Roman infantry, which is consisting of 4 medium heavy troops. So here we have the Romans and Latins, and we have, of course, a triarii, because we are in the year 190 BC, but we are still having the traditional way with hastati, principes, and triarii here. So we have the triple Aches system still in place here. So 4 of those, 1 heavy, and then we have these African elephants here, way back. Here's Scipio himself, Scipio Asiaticus. And the right flank, here we have a Romans. I think there's also in the cavalry, we have 2 medium heavy cavalries here, and I think many of those are actually Romans. But here we have Eumenes of Pergamon, with 2 medium heavy cavalry, as said. We have auxiliary infantry, and then we have 4 light type units up front. We have 3 light infantry and 1 bow unit over there. So these are probably mostly Greek allies, I believe. But we have a bunch of Romans over here as well, I believe. So pretty solid army, good fighting power and good skirmishing power for once as the Romans as well. And quite nice with 2 medium-heavy cavalry. Those could do something, and you know my habit of doing crazy charges. Maybe we'll see some of those. Then we have the Seleucids, and we have Antiochus here on their right with a heavy, that should be cataphract cavalry. We have these medium-heavy, well, kind of phalanx-style troops, but not really, not the Macedonian style, I believe. But I think these are the silver shields. I'm not sure, but they should be somewhere here in the battle line, close to Antiochus. Then we have the Galatian warriors. And back there we have the elephants, 2 Macedonian-style phalanx units, more elephants. Then over on the left, I mean, the army in this in the Seleucid, or the army composition of the Seleucids, I should say, they are from all of the places, right, in the big empire. I mean, we have so many, as I said, we have kind of, we have Greek proper, we have Macedonian style phalanxes, we have Arab camel cavalry, we have here we have some light bows cavalry, probably from farther east. We have these side chariots. This is actually Seleucus. He's the son of Antiochus. So we have troops from all over that empire, actually, consisting of, yeah, and probably Indians with the elephants, you know. So it's a really nice composition of everything here. Camels, chariots, warriors, light infantry, bows, elephants, of course, real heavy traditional phalanx infantry. So yeah. So the cavalry flank is then, we have this light bow cavalry, we have medium heavies. We should have cataphracts over here as well, but we only have 1 heavy in this battle. We have these camels. I actually need to check that rule, how these work. We do that before the start. The heavy chariots with Seleucus. Then we have the light skirmish line here, consisting of light infantry, 2 of them here, bows, light infantry, another bow unit. So also there a good skirmishing power. And we have 6 proper skirmish units here on the Roman side and 5 on the Seleucid side. So, and if you count that bow unit there also, I mean, this will be a really cool skirmish fight in the beginning, I'm sure. And speaking of that, what would be the battle plans then? Well, I think we should, I mean, even though both are pretty skirmish heavy, we should close in to fight. And I think both sides are quite interested in that, actually. So I might go forward with both sides, actually, and see what happens. Start off with a lot of skirmishing. Both of the sides' elephants are pretty shielded, so we cannot do that yet. But, I mean, we could start harassing that heavy chariot. That would be pretty important, I believe. Yeah, so by that, I think I apologize for this long intro, but let's start the battle right now. And before I start, I'm gonna just check up the rules for those camels, how they work, so we know that from the beginning. And also gonna look at those heavy chariots. It was some while ago we had those, so I'm gonna check how they work. So yeah, let's start the battle. Okay, so we actually have some pretty interesting stats of those camels. I just wanted to check those together with you before I start. So They are medium heavy, they move 3. They actually have different attack and defense dice. 3 to attack and 2 to defend. They may evade against foot and heavy mounted. They can do the advance and battle, but they cannot move that extra hex that horse cavalry can do. They retreat 3 hexes, and they can ignore 1 symbol hit when attacked by cavalry or chariot. Interesting. Also, we need to remember that other, horse cavalry, they will retreat at 1 additional hex when attacked by elephant or camel. That's interesting. But anyway, right now, let's see what we can do as the first turn of the Romans. So we're going to check slots A and B for them before they roll the dice. So we have a mounted charge. This could be, if we can prepare first, we have medium troops. I mean, here's something we could do to recreate history, right? If we could get the medium troops first, we can move up the cavalry right in a charge position, and then we do a mounted charge. That would be pretty awesome as a first thing. But maybe we should actually skirmish first, because that's what happened in history, actually. But let's see. We're going to roll and see what we get here. We actually got an A, B, or C. So we're also going to check the C slot before we decide on a card. So inspired right leadership. Well, that's perfect, because we have Eumenes here who could go first. I think I'm going to do that. The other would be to order 4 units over here, but I think as we can anticipate that the guys will come here and attack Antiochus and his heavy cavalry and all that, we could spare that card for more defense measures. I mean, we could do a big counterattack with all 4 units we have on this section. So I'm actually going to go for inspired right leadership. So it's Eumenes and 4 other units. I'm going to take the other cavalry and then 3 more. So I'm going to start off with some skirmishing here for sure. So who should we harass? Probably the camels and the chariots, right? So let's place these guys. I think I'll place them here to have a clear shot against that chariot, and then we advance with the, let's say, velites here. I'm not sure all of these actually are velites. I think there are lighter infantry here of other sorts. And then we place the cavalry to be ready to shock. Of course, we could be hit by those camels, but I want to do it. So I'm gonna put these in an assault formation here on the flank. Okay, now for some skirmishing. So let's start with the bows. I'm gonna attack that heavy chariot. And heavy chariots, let's see if they have any special defensive things. They can ignore 1 sword, but that's not interesting when we do a fire battle or a ranged battle. Nothing else. So we pretty much need to roll. They are, of course, they have a leader and they have support. So we need to roll that red to get anything. And we didn't. So let's see. I think I'm more afraid of that camel right now. So I'm going to concentrate my fire on that. So first, javelin attack against the camels. Miss. We do the second one, same target. And that's a hit. That's what I wanted to see. Because now we are starting to wear those guys down. Because we know there will be a clash here pretty soon. And every block is important there, right? Okay, that was the Roman first turn. Pretty happy. Good skirmishing, getting the cavalry in position. We're gonna crash into those lines and bring that chaos that Eumenes did in history. Okay, so let's see what the Seleucids have in slot A and B. See how they can counter. 3 in the center and another 3 in the center. Okay. We're gonna roll. That's tactics card or lowest order count. Since we don't have any tactics card, oh, I forgot to bring the rules for this. I'm gonna just close this for a second and fetch the rules. Here we go. So let's see. Face-up tactic card or lowest order count. If there is none or only one face-up card, that's not the case. Flip, okay. Play any face-up tactics card or play the lowest order count face-up section card for any allowable purpose. If there are multiple lowest order accounts, choose which one to play. Fill in the played cards based on the drop. Okay, so even if I don't have any tactic cards up, I cannot, you know, open up another hidden card just because of that. So I'm just gonna play slot B then. 3 units center. I think that's okay because we can now retaliate with some skirmishers here, and I will for sure do that. So I'm gonna order some skirmishers here. I'm gonna retaliate right now. So we're gonna go here, and these guys will stay. They will actually fire against that with 2 dice. That's my plan. So let's see what we can get here. Let's start with that bow then against the Roman bow. Yeah, 2 dice. And 1 hit. Phew, 1 down here. Okay. Then I think I'll throw my javelins against that unit. 1 die. That's a hit. That's another hit. So the Seleucid skirmishing is going pretty good. Now I'm gonna fire at the same target with 2 dice with those bows who didn't move. Let's see if we can force them back. No, but we got yet another hit. We are wearing those guys down actually now with intensive firing from the Seleucid lines here. Okay. Good retaliation there. Only worrying that they lost a camel block there. Okay, the Romans go next. Can they now launch the mounted charge? Let's see. That's C or lowest order count, so I think they cannot. So let's see what C is then. That's 2 in the center, or we do the medium troops or 4 units left. So, what's the lowest order count? So either we need to play that one, or how many mediums do we have? A lot of them actually, because we have medium heavy infantry, you know, as Romans. So we're actually going to play this one or this one. And I don't see the reason for playing anything in the left-hand section right now. So I'm going to go with 2 in the center. That suits me because now I can fire back here. And I could also move up some more infantry in support, some lights. These guys go 2 and they will also fire. So let's start with these guys. They will fire at those light infantry there who rush forward from the line. We only have 1 die. That's a miss. And then fire the... Should we take the same target? Or should we take the chariot? Let's fire the chariot now with 2 dice. Let's hope for a red. That could be more valuable at this time. Ah, too bad. I should have fired that light. We wouldn't achieve the hit there. So nothing, but we are bringing our troops in some support here. So Eumenes is holding back his horse a bit more, meaning the Seleucid gets still 1 chance to retaliate on that flank and maybe first launch their attack of the cavalry. So now we have a D or E coming up, and that's 2 cards we don't know what it is. So this is exciting. Let's see. We have another 2 in the center, and then we have a double time. Okay, not really what I was hoping for, because I cannot do range combat with a double time. I need to attack, and I don't have that many guys to do that with. So actually it needs to be 2 in the center then. But that's okay, we can continue with the skirmish phase here of the battle. Let's see if we can break the line here by firing intensively at these reduced guys here. So let's start with let's start with the bows. The bows start 2 dice against that light infantry unit. And that's a hit and a flag. Okay, let's see. We take the hit first, and the flag is voluntarily. I think I take it because otherwise I might die here. Now I'll give a victory banner to the Seleucids. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to retreat, take that flag, even though I am supported there. Okay, so these guys who were planning to throw their javelins there cannot do that, so we're going to actually continue with this bow unit instead. That's 2 dice. And that's a miss. But still, pretty good initial skirmishing by the Seleucids. Now, the Romans again. Can they now launch their Cavalry Charge? Yeah, they could actually, but let's see what they have in C first. Inspired left leadership. We don't have any leader over on the left side yet, but we could of course move Scipio here eventually if things start happening here. So it's good. It's a good card to have. So 4 units left, medium troops or a mounted charge, and I think I'll go with the mounted charge. Now, even would of course can be good to have the elephants, to utilize the elephants also with this card, but we cannot, and maybe we cannot for the whole game, so we cannot wait with that. So a mounted charge it is. We're gonna get that extra die, which will be very important now. Now, I think I will hit those camels as hard as I could. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna write in 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. That's what will happen, and I think this will be very important because the cavalry units are fragile, but if they succeed, they are so deadly, you know, with their follow-up attacks. Okay, so let's start here against the camels, and I just need to check again. They cannot ignore any. Yeah, they can ignore 1 symbol hit actually when attacked by cavalry or chariot. That's okay. Still, I'm gonna attack. So I'm gonna get 4 dice because I have the mounted charge card. So 4 dice against that cavalry, and it's those guys who attack. Let's see, 1 symbol hit, 1 blue they can ignore. And there's the blue, and there's a hit. So 1 hit only, actually. I was hoping for another, but okay. We will have a battle back. And they fight back with 2 dice. They're not as good in defense as in attack. They also adjacent to a leader though, so they're gonna hit with those as well. Let's see. They also, yeah, so if we get the flag that these guys need to take, then we need to go 1 hex further. Let's see. Okay, it's 1 hit. 1 hit on Eumenes' cavalry. Then we follow up with Eumenes himself attacking those guys. 4 dice again. 1 hit required. They can ignore 1 symbol hit, but the other one they need to take. So the camels goes down. Bring the Romans by Eumenes the Eumenes the second here, the first banner. Pretty awesome. Now I can go in, I can go 1 more and attack again. Should we hit those chariots? They can ignore 1 sword symbol. We could stay here, go even there, attack those guys who will evade, of course, but we will throw our 4 dice. Or we just stay here and attack that medium heavy. These are probably some Cappadocian cavalry or something. I know they were present at least. Hard decision. I have 3 pretty good targets here, or 3 interesting targets. I would like to see that chariot go down actually. But they can ignore 2 flags. That's a bit too much. We should weaken them up with some skirmish fire before we attack, I believe. So one of these 2 it needs to be then. I'm gonna actually do this. I go here, attack those guys who will try to evade, but I will roll 4 dice and any green hit. Ah, too bad. Oh, look at this roll. We should have attacked that medium-heavy cavalry, right? It would have been dead at this point. So these guys saw what's coming up, so they have good time to retreat back 1 hex and be in a good fire range against Eumenes cavalry actually there if they get activated. Okay. Successful or not? Well, we got rid of that camel cavalry there. I'm pretty happy with that. But, well. As always, when you do this cavalry charge, you are so vulnerable for the counterattack. But, of course, they need to get those units activated. So let's see. Seleucids. Tactics card or lowest order count. So it's double time or 3 unit centers. So they cannot really activate those guys. So let's, I think this is pretty much as in history. We are seeing a lot of skirmish first, bringing some, well, these guys get a bit disorganized here. Then we have Eumenes with his cavalry charging in. They are trying to retreat as good as can to, keep themselves at bay here. The Arab cavalry here with the camels were, well, not quick enough to retreat before Eumenes hit, right? So they got eliminated after giving back some. I mean, they fought back pretty hard here, so that's cool. But we're seeing a bit of history repeat itself here with Sorry about that. I got someone on the front door. So, what was I saying? I think I was saying something about history repeat itself over there, right? When Eumenes bringing havoc there. Anyway, that was the mounted charge. So we are. Yeah, it's the Seleucids' turn actually, more or less, right? Let's see. Yeah, it's Seleucids. Let's see what they can do. Can they retaliate? It's C or low. Wait a minute. No. Sorry, I had the break there. That's why I forgot. I think I rolled that I need to play one of these two. Right. So tactics card or lowest order count probably it was. Maybe I do a blunder here, but I think so. Let's at least pretend we roll that then. So I need to play one of these two. So they cannot. Yeah, that was the thing I was talking about. Now I remember. They cannot really answer here, and that's why I think it's going like in history. So now we need to play the double time or 3 in the center. And I need to do a 3 in the center, I believe. Let's continue. We are still in skirmish mode here. So these guys, and these guys. I'm just gonna fire away as long as I can here. These bows starting to fire against the Roman bow. 2 dice. That's a hit. Slowly grinding. Let's take the same target. 2 dice. 1 more hit. Only 1 block here. I mean, the Roman skirmishers are really getting weak here now. So who could we hit with those guys? We don't see that guy. That's bad. We see those guys. We cannot see that 1 block unit. So we could really attack one of these two. And let's put them on that Velite unit there, or light infantry. 2 dice. And that's 2 swords, meaning miss. But another good skirmishing round there from the Seleucids, actually. All right. Over to the Romans. Okay, tactics card or lowest order count. And once again, I don't remember how those leadership cards were counted. Let's see that. Tacticians. No, section versus tactics. That's what I'm going to look at. troop and leadership cards are section cards. So we don't have any tactics cards. So basically lowest order count. That would be, well, this would be 1 unit of my choice. I actually need to play that because these guys will order more units. And this is a section card. I don't have any leader on my left section right now, so I need to play this. And that's 1 unit of my choice. And I'm gonna continue with my Cavalry Charge. I have so juicy targets here now. I have the chance to get that guy now because they cannot evade anymore. So I was lucky the Seleucids couldn't activate over here. So I'm gonna go 1 forward with those guys and attack that bow cavalry unit who cannot retreat. Gonna roll 3 dice. Or they cannot evade, I mean. So that is 2 hits plus a flag which will kill them because they are not supported. Both they go, and we got the second Roman victory banner again thanks to Eumenes, who can go in, go 1 more. He will go back 1 and attack that medium heavy. Now I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it now. Get the first hit on those guys. They can ignore 1 flag though, but still. Let's hope for some hits here. We got 1 hit and the flag which they can ignore, but 1 hit is 1 hit. And they are standing there, so they're going to do a counter charge, 3 dice. They are adjacent to a leader, so we actually need to take 1 block off here. And not only that, we need to check Eumenes. We're going to remember we also have a flag. We could take that. Let's see what happens with Eumenes first. He's good, so I could take that flag or not. I think I'll do that. 1, 2, 3. I will go all the way back there because I don't want to be in range of that chariot, to be honest. Okay, we could actually... I think we could evade from that one. So maybe we should... Yeah, let's go there because we give these guys a place to evade as well. Okay. Pretty hit and run by Eumenes there, getting those, you know, mounted archers there, or bow unit there, light bows. I think that was important, really important, and not least getting that victory banner pretty easily. Okay. Only bad thing, we had to use a good card for that one activation. Okay, let's play the Seleucids as well, before I think I'll take a break. Okay, another one of these. So it needs to be lowest order count, and now we're over there, and we only have 1 up. What does that say? If there's only 1, if there's none or only 1 face up in a display, flip any 1 face down. Okay, so I could actually flip 1 up before I decide. Okay, so it's double time or 2 on the Seleucid right. They still cannot retaliate here, which is pretty annoying for them, I believe. That's annoying. So we need more or less to play 2 over here. So I'm gonna do that. And I'm going to order the cavalry with Antiochus himself and these warriors. I think these are kind of Gauls, right? Galatians, I think so. And then 1, 2. I'm going to place myself in charge range here. Okay, I know I can get hit by these guys now, but... Is it wise to do this move yet? Maybe we should not. Maybe we should not. Let's place them there anyway. And... Or actually they were here. And then we move up these guys instead. Let's bring the line forward instead. A turn or 2 before we do any big cavalry things. Okay, that's all that happened there. Not much. And as I said, I think I'll take a break here. I think we have an interesting situation coming up here. Pretty static over here and in the center, but over here, as in history, we have lots of action. Initial skirmishing, which I believe the Seleucids could say they won. They have hit a lot of skirmishes on the Roman side here. On the other hand, Eumenes did that pretty successful cavalry charge or charges that hit the Seleucids pretty hard on their cavalry flank. They have lost already 2 units there, that camel unit and that light bow unit, and also damaged these guys already. On the other hand, Eumenes' cavalry has also taken some hits, 1 on each of these guys. So even though we are in a 2-0 lead for the Romans, we are seeing some, some of the units of the Roman side were down here. So let's see what happens in part 2. This is going to be interesting. And let's see if we see any movement of the main lines as well. Probably we need to see that, because sooner or later this flank will be exhausted. Okay, Sam, thanks very much for watching, and I hope you will be back for part 2 of the Battle of Magnesia. Bye for now.